Hello everybody! I am doing another video for everyone who is interested in managing their blood sugars, who has a history of diabetes or pre-diabetes, and I just wanted to give another video. And one question I get asked a lot is how many carbohydrates should a patient have? So I was going to go over on how to calculate that and then just give a quick reminder of which carbohydrates might be better to eat versus other types of carbohydrates. So I hope you enjoy this video. So the first step when calculating carbohydrate needs is first to calculate how many calories or how much energy needs you need. And just to give a quick reminder, calorie needs are very dependent on like age, sex, activity level, different factors like that. And obviously, like if you're younger and more physically active, the more calories you're going to need. And if you're older and more sedentary, then the less calories you're going to need. So the less calories you're going to need, generally the less carbohydrates you're going to need. And just to give some mathematical issues, part of this would be once you determine that calorie need, then your carbohydrate needs would be about 45 to 65%. So not to get ahead of myself, let's first kind of go over general calorie needs equations and then we'll move from there. So here is an equation I like to use for calculating energy needs. It's called the Mifflin-St. Jeor equation, and depending on if you're a man or woman, it's almost identical except the ending on adding or subtracting certain calories. And so for men, it would be the BMR would be your calorie needs equals 10 times your weight in kilograms plus 6.25 times your height in centimeters minus 5 times your age plus 5, and then for women it's the exact same except you would subtract 161. This is a really long version for how to calculate your energy needs, so you obviously can just Google this on your own, but I'll just give an example for an adult that might weigh 180 pounds. That would be about 5'8", and that would be 65 years old, and I'll walk through that really quick. So here is the patient who's 180 pounds, and you would divide that by 2.2 to get kilograms of 81.8. And then for the height, they'll be 5'8", which is 68 inches. You would have to multiply that by 2.54, which would then give you the number of 173 centimeters. And then last is age, which is 65. We don't need to adjust that at all. So we just plug that into our equation like this. And you could use a calculator, and it would be 818 plus 1081 minus 325 plus 5 for a man, and that would be 1,579 calories. So as you can see, there is a lot of math that goes in just to calculating calorie needs. That's why I'm a big fan of, using Google. You could reach out to your doctor or dietitian. They could definitely help you find an exact energy amount that would work for you. And I know if you're trying to lose weight, you would subtract about 500 to 1,000 calories, and then if you're trying to gain weight, then that would be adding on calories. But let's move on to calculating the carbohydrate needs. So we'll use that same patient as an example and let's round his calorie needs to 1,600 because I'm a fan of even numbers. It makes things easier. Carbohydrates, I said, needs are 45 to 65% of calorie needs. So I usually multiply it by like 50% because most people are not super active as they get older. So let's say multiply it by 0.5, and that would be 800 calories. After we calculated the carbohydrate calorie needs, we would divide that by 4 because mathematically there are 4 grams per calorie in a carbohydrate. So overall you need 200 grams of carbohydrates for this patient for a whole day. And I'm sure you have heard about having carb choices or carb servings. So another way to look at it would be to take that 200 grams and divide that by 15, which is equal to like 15 grams in one serving. And then that would end up being about 13 carb choices. So the two ways to look at it would be you have 200 grams of carbohydrates per day or 13 carb choices. And as you probably already know, it's best not to eat all the carbohydrates in one setting. For better blood sugar control, it's better to try to spread out your carbohydrates and eat carbohydrates that are going to be higher in fiber and slower at being digested. So I'll use this same example and go over how many approximately carbohydrates per meal are recommended. So after calculating out that patient's carbohydrate needs, it would end up being about 45 to 60 grams or 3 to 4 carb choices per meal. And then you could have about a 15 gram snack 1 to 2 times a day, depending on your hunger levels. But each person's carbohydrate needs vary. And then obviously, if you're trying to lose weight or gain weight, that can really vary as well. So honestly, trying to use these formulas is really good for a base, but then you could, again, always reach out to a dietitian or your doctor just to get more specific ideas for what or how many carbohydrates to eat. So thanks for following through. I know this was a lot of math today, and there was a lot of information thrown at you. Obviously, each person is very different, so I hope you can play around with these numbers and try to fit or find a right carbohydrate amount based on your needs. But I did want to mention briefly that some carbohydrates are treated differently in your body. So while I have a gram amount, like carb choices and grams for patients to eat per day, things such as like fruit, whole grains, dairy, like lentils and beans are going to be treated a lot better in your body for blood sugar control than, say, if you had a lot of sugary foods or, high carbohydrate, low glycemic foods like white rice, white bread. Those are going to spike blood sugars a lot more. So trying to make healthier carbohydrate choices are another key factor. But I hope that you guys can comment or have questions down below. Thanks so much for following along, and I hope you have a good afternoon.